Good morning, good day, and good evening. Today, we are doing a solo episode. So, I do have another regular episode lined up this week. I may have misjudged the time that we agreed on, and then slept through the time it was going to happen. So, just in case that episode doesn't happen, it should now, we've rearranged it. Just in case that one doesn't happen, I'm doing this one, just so I have another one in my backlog. What's probably going to happen, though, is now I just have an extra week backlogged, and, it is what it is. It's not really that big of a deal. So, it's been a while since we've done a solo episode. I actually don't know the last time. Let me just have a quick check over on the Spotify here. I want to say it's got to be like, have I done one this year? That is the real question. I feel like I have, but it's entirely possible that I've just entirely lost track of time so much that I have no idea what I've done. Okay, back to 262, it's all guests. Guess. Okay, wait, what date is that on? Published January 25. Okay, I have done one this year. Just a single episode, and that is all. I do like the solo episodes, as I've said in previous ones. It's just, there's lots of interesting people to talk to, so I can do the solo episode and just chat shit by myself, which is basically a 2-hour version of my live streams, except instead of playing a video game, it's just 2 hours of just chatting, and actually just chatting, and not 2 hours of reacts. Or I can find some interesting people to talk to, and not have to talk for 2 hours, and find people that are far more interesting than I am, and pick their brains about various things. Well, sometimes we are here anyway, so it is what it is. You know what, let's start off. I've got a bunch of things written down, as I always do. Let's start off with something that I've seen a lot of people freaking out about, but frankly, I don't know how exactly to feel. Google just changed its G logo. I assume, from what everyone said, this is just the G logo, but it seems really weird they wouldn't do a rebrand like this across the rest of their application suite as well. So my assumption is they are probably, testing this out on a single one. If people don't hate it, then they roll out the rest. The way that I've seen this described is it's kind of like you take both logos and then you put a match under them and you just watch this one on the right melt. That's kind of what it is. I've also seen a lot of people really happy about the fact they are using blur in a logo. Is this some design trend I'm not aware of? Logo blur. Gaussian blur in logo. I'm not finding anything obvious here. So is this a really, really new trend, maybe? Okay, wait. I'm seeing someone talk about a logo from a couple of months ago on Reddit. I don't know why everyone is, making a big deal about the fact that it's using, specifically a blur. It's one thing when Google changes their logo, but it's specifically being a blur. I don't understand, the freak out about that. What I will say is, okay, do I think it is better? That's the real question here. I feel like someone got paid a shitload of money to make it. When Google or any other big company makes a logo change, just understand how many meetings had to happen to decide on doing this. This probably cost, at a minimum, just in meetings alone, I would say 10 hours of meetings across at least 8 different people. And that's just the meetings. That's not taking the time, like, into consideration all of the different things that could have been adjusted. Like, how much blur do we want? Do we want the red to bleed down further? It looks like they might have, like, moved the center point of the Okay, they've definitely made the yellow bleed out a lot more into the red and the green than... Like, because the end point of the yellow is here. The end point of the yellow is more like here. So, like, just understand how many people and how many layers of management this had to go through. I don't know what this is generally going to mean for the way that Google designs things. Because here's the thing, right? A lot of modern design trends basically follow whatever companies like Google are doing. People don't have the ability to think for themselves. The reason why, like, skeuomorphism is bad is because Google doesn't like it. Like, all of these design trends, basically, Google is at the forefront of, and other companies like Apple as well. And if they don't like it, it's bad. So is this going to lead to some sort of new, maybe, design trend where we're moving away from the sort of, like, flat material design? Because that's sort of what this is, right? Like, the hard colors onto hard colors. Are we moving away from that? Are we moving more back towards something more akin to XP? Not, like, exactly that sort of design, but a lot more colorful, a lot more playful. Probably not. I'm probably way overthinking this, like every single other person talking about this, because there's nothing, there's frankly nothing happening this time of the year, so everyone is just grabbing onto every little possible thing. Oh, yeah, like this, back when they changed their logo to a sans serif typeface 10 years ago, and everyone freaked out about this as well. They're like, oh my god, they changed the font. One thing I will say is, even though they are the same size, from what I can tell... Actually, wait, hold up. Are these... Actually, am I tripping? No. Okay. The logo on the right is definitely bigger. I was gonna say, there's no way that it like, looks that... Okay, I don't know if the actual, like, official logo is a different size, or they've just changed the size for this, but they are definitely slightly different sizes. The new logo is slightly bigger. I thought for some reason, like, this is what I was thinking, right? For some reason, the gradient made things feel more open. And I guess in a sense it kind of does, but, like, not as much as I thought it did. There's something about not having those, like, hard borders of colors that does make it feel like... I guess the idea is kind of like bringing you in, if that makes sense. Like, it feels like it's sort of like trying to drag you into the Google ecosystem, and you'll never escape from the void that is Google. I do think this is probably an upgrade over what they were doing. It's going to obviously take time to get used to this, and I'm curious to see if they roll it out for the rest of their suite. It would seem so weird if just one of their logos was a new design, and they're like, yeah, you know what, just leave everything else as is. I wonder if there's some, like, dumb, like, corporate-y explanation for the reason why they did so. Google new logo reason. Let's see. Google's evolving brand identity in a multi-device, AI-driven world. What does that mean? Fucking nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. That's not an explanation from Google. That's just someone, like, applying reason to it. I will say Google is really smart by not heavily talking about the logo, just dropping it, because you get fucking idiots like me and everybody else in the tech industry who's like, why did Google change their logo? What's the meaning behind this? Is this going to affect everything else? And, like, they don't need to do any marketing whatsoever. Everybody just innately now knows that Google has a new logo. This is like such a brilliant way to do it, right? Like, this is the other thing. This also went through multiple board meetings. Like, how do we announce we had the new logo? Do we send out press kits? Do we just silently drop it? Do we write a blog post? How do we best get out the new logo and make sure people are aware of the wasted hours we've done on this stupid bullshit? Oh, man. I will say, whoever out there was involved in this and got paid for it, great fucking grift. You did you fantastic fucking job. You made so much money from something that doesn't matter. Same thing with like every other logo design, like when Kia became the Cayenne car, or like the Jaguar rebrand. That was such a bad rebrand. Like the fact they even let that one through is insane. Whoever is involved in those design teams, fucking good job. You got so much money out of the stupidest thing. Speaking of not stupid things, though, I have done a number of streams on the Cosmic desktop. The one from System 76. If you've not used it yet, I would highly recommend it. It still has a number of quite annoying bugs, as I've shown in my streams, where my windows vibrate when I record them. Not on my desktop, only in the recording, and to the best of my knowledge, nobody's been able to properly replicate the problem. So I need to go and try, see if it's maybe like multi-monitor. Like, if it's multi-monitor, that at least leads them down to something. If it's AMD only, I wouldn't have a clue. Look, maybe it's some regression in Mesa, but that doesn't make any sense unless it's like some weird approach that Cosmic only is taking and KDE is not for some reason. But to be fair, there was another one like that. What was the option called? Direct scan out. Direct scan out is a thing where KDE isn't really using that heavily, but on Cosmic, AMD GPUs would crash past a certain version of Mesa, and I want to say it's still a regression. I don't think it's been fixed upstream yet. Anyway, right now we're in Alpha 7. If you've not tried it yet, it's gotten into a pretty solid state. It's not perfect. There's lots of bugs still. It still requires hardware rendering, so if you try it in a virtual machine, make sure you enable hardware rendering, otherwise it will immediately die. But I do legitimately think it is maybe a cycle or two away from going into beta. Now, on that note, so I talked about the alpha, and I was sent an email from System 76. Let me see if I can find it. But I didn't check out the details because I didn't like super care about the email that they sent me. I think Gaming on Linux made the mention of it as well. Gaming on Linux. Let me see. Where's Liam? Let me go. Okay, maybe we go to the website. Gaming on Linux. So this was part of the write-up, but it was just like a little note towards the bottom. So I just didn't even like take note. Maybe wait, the second page? I didn't really like take note of it. I should have grabbed the link for this one. Yeah, here we go. So they have some new laptop coming out, the Serval WS. And then like at the bottom of that email, the thing that I didn't even pay attention to, apparently, Cosmic is going to be entering beta phase soon. So soon is it's a very ambiguous and very loose term for a very good reason, because as we've seen from Carl before, mentioning dates doesn't go too well. I do legitimately think... Do I think next release is going to be beta? I wouldn't be surprised if they pushed it into beta. Now, I do think there should be at least one more cycle. There's a few features I would like to see added before that happens. Bug fixes can go into beta, that's totally fine. At this point, there's not any, like, horrible crashes that are easy to encounter. This is the main thing. There's always going to be crashes in alpha and beta software, but beta should have a lot less in the obvious crashes. Like crashes where you're doing normal desktop functionality and something goes wrong. And a lot of that stuff has been dealt with. If I'm not being optimistic, I would say end of June. I think end of June, beta is very, very likely. Now, how long is it going to be beta going into full release? That's really hard to say. I do think Cosmic has a lot of optimization issues right now. Like swapping workspaces, for example, there is a noticeable delay. It's like a second delay, and I have a feeling, because this has been a problem in other desktops, so my home directory is on hard drive, and I have a feeling it's something about writing data to a mechanical hard drive. I should move my configs to an SSD, or at least the Cosmic folder to an SSD, just to test it, because KDE's had a lot of problems where it's horribly unoptimized on hard drives. Cosmic, I would not be surprised if it has similar... Well, no. Cosmic has had problems of being horribly unoptimized on hard drives. Early on, when you would change the... We'll change basically any setting, but a really easy one was changing the width of the window border. Every single time you change the value, it would write to a hard drive, or it would write to the file, and then reread the file, and then like move it around the environment a bunch of times. And it wasn't just the hard drive thing. The hard drive thing certainly helped, but there was a bunch of other little optimizations at the same time that also smoothed things out. And I have a feeling workspaces may be the exact same thing. My assumption is it's probably writing it to a file and then moving the file around and moving the data around a bunch and doing just weird shit that like alpha software does. And then at some point, like 2 seconds later, it's like, oh yeah, you're on a new desktop. Yeah. I think Cosmic has been I do want to talk to more of the engineers again. I need to bring Victoria on the podcast at some point. I also want to bring Jeremy back on. If anyone from the Cosmic team is listening here and would like to talk about the engineer experience of Cosmic, I would absolutely love to talk, because I feel like this has been a big learning experience for everybody involved, because this has been a Rust native desktop on a really new graphical toolkit from people who may have been involved in other desktops before. They've all like worked on Gnome to some extent, having the whole pop shell thing, and there have been patches sent upstream, but never building a desktop from the ground up. And I'd be very curious to know about a lot of the learning experiences people have had, a lot of the speed bumps along the way, a lot of the things which maybe were assumptions they had about how a desktop should work, which sort of fell apart as soon as you start seeing more general, wider user expectations. This is a problem a lot of things have, a lot of like software has, where for an individual, it works really well. And maybe for their friends, maybe for a small group around them, it's not perfect, but they understand it. And then you start giving it to regular users who have no idea who you are, who have no idea about your design ideas and your mentality going to the software, and they immediately break something. And I know there have been bugs in Cosmic like that. At least, like, that's the way it appeared to me. Actually, a really good example of this. Let's see if I can find it. I do need to provide more information to Carl, because I think he's entirely wrong. Yeah, so, Okay, a bunch of people have upvoted this. So this is a thing that Carl has added into the GitHub. So in Cosmic, for anyone just listening, in Cosmic, actually in KDE. So in KDE, there is an option. What's it called in KDE? Focus. Yeah, under window behavior. Focus follows mouse precedence, and then delay focus set to 0 milliseconds. So what happens here is when I've moved my mouse onto a different window, that window is automatically given focus, which is great because it means that I don't have to click anything. Awesome. Now, Cosmic also has this feature. The problem is I don't think that they have used something like KDE or GNOME with the functionality enabled, and it doesn't work the way you would ever expect it to. So on Cosmic, when you move the cursor over to a window, it doesn't just focus the window, it also raises the window. So KDE has those as two separate actions. You focus the window with your cursor by moving it over and click it, and then it raises the window. Why do we want this separation? Well, let's imagine for a moment that you want to go and open a save dialog, okay? Save dialogues don't always take full control of the window, or maybe it's like a warning pop-up, okay? Something like that, which isn't going to take full control of the window, but is going to be a new window that spawns on top of the window. So in the Cosmic context, if I were to move my cursor off of that window onto the window behind it, because focus and raise are the same operation, putting my cursor on the window behind it would now put the pop-up behind that window, hiding the pop-up. This is really annoying. Whereas on KDE, if I move my cursor off of the pop-up is still going to be on top of everything, but the window behind it is going to have focus. So I can scroll through that window, I can type in that window, but until I click on the window, it is not actually going to be raised above the pop-up. This is a very specific situation, but it also makes a lot of sense when you have multiple overlapping windows on your desktop. Moving the cursor between windows and it immediately appearing above the window feels buggy. It feels broken. It works in a tiling context, but that's because windows are not overlapping. In a floating context, you need to have raising and focus as two separate operations. I will be posting a video in this thread as well. I really, really hope that Carl does not make the wrong choice here and break how this feature works. Wait. Oh, hold up. Have other people made duplicates? Wait, I'm actually, hold up. Okay, so this like makes me even more right. So there are other people that have provided the exact same report. So this is from XFCE, I guess. Yeah, so this is on XFCE where you can customize the raise on, you say, yeah, automatically raise windows when they focus. Yeah. So this is the exact same thing I'm talking about with KDE, except XFCE has like more sliders for more things. What's this one on? Oh, this is also XFCE. Wait. Is it the same person? Wait, I'm confused. Did I open the same link twice? Or did they make two issues? Wait, I'm so confused. Wait, 863. Why do they have different names? Oh, they must... Oh, okay. Okay, I see what happened here. Okay, GitFox mentioned it, and then Michael marked it as a duplicate. Right, okay, that makes sense. Awesome. Okay. That makes a lot more sense then. This is something... Wait, so it was... Okay, it was on the epoch, then it was in the alpha, and then it's been removed. Okay, I'm definitely going to talk to Carl about this. Like, this is something where if the idea... So what Carl wants to do here is remove the zero delay to raise the window, which immediately breaks focus follows cursor. Without zero delay, focus follows cursor just feels laggy and feels buggy. So if you're not going to do zero delay, just remove the feature. I'm going to provide a video of KDE, and I really hope that this is what like shows Carl how, and like the other engineers, like how this feature is supposed to work in a non-buggy state. I think this is a problem that pretty much every desktop has. KDE has this problem, Cosmic has this problem, Gnome especially has this problem, where the people using the desktop obviously are dogfooding it. But they're only dogfooding it. This leads to a situation where things that work sensibly on other desktops, basically you have to like have the discussion about how something should work, right? It's like, okay, let's imagine you have, let's imagine we have a door, okay? And let's say that 3 independent engineers architect what a door is. We don't have a definition of a door. So one person, they work out a door and they're like, okay, yeah, let's have these hinge things. Let's have like a handle that you turn. Let's make it out of some cheap material like wood and it'll like latch into the wall. Makes sense. Now, what you could do as these other engineers is take the idea of a door and then build off of that and just reimagine the door in a way that makes sense. Or you could hear about this thing known as a door and then try to redesign the idea from first principles without taking any like context from the thing that was already done. So you end up rehashing the same discussions, redoing all of that same engineering work, and maybe you come up with a good result by the end. But a lot of work would have been saved by just going and looking at what the other project is doing. And that's the exact same thing here. This issue would be resolved maybe in like a day if people in System 76 just went and try out how the feature works in KDE or in XSCE and like, oh, this works so much better than what we're doing. Just do that. And they have already done that with certain other things, like the idea of global shortcuts with X11 applications. Like, they just yoinked it from KDE. So I know that they are doing this in certain contexts, but in this specific one, for some reason, it's like, let's remove the feature instead of doing it correctly. Yeah. It is what it is. I do hope that it is dealt with in a sensible way because I really want the feature. It is the only way I feel comfortable using a system. Every time I go to a system where I have to click a window to raise it, it just feels weird. Especially in combination with doing things with like keyboard shortcuts. So I don't like to click the X in the top of a window. I'll usually do Super Shift Q and kill the window, or whatever it's bound to in that desktop. Usually I rebind it to Super Shift Q though. And if you have to then click on the window to make sure you're definitely focused, it causes more problems than it needs to. Basically. So, speaking of possibly causing problems, so do you remember about, I'll say a month ago, I think it was in early April? Yeah, early April. April 3rd. Zorin OS decided to change their default browser. Now their default is going to be the Brave browser. And there were a lot of people who, there are a lot of people who don't like Brave. Should they not like Brave? I don't care. It's their life. They can not like whatever they want. They can hate and seethe if they want to. But Zorin swapped over to the Brave browser. I believe I want to say it's a fairly clean Brave browser. I don't think they were... The Register is not a fan of Brave. The Register's not a fan of Brave. Linking to... What do we have? We have the Spacebar article from 2 years ago. The one that people love to link to. Stop using Brave, and then... the one from Libre News. Okay, yep. I don't care in case anyone doesn't know, I do like use Brave as my backup browser. My main browser is Florp. I have Brave there as well, and yeah, I think what was the reason the Zorin went with it? Blah, blah, blah. I think it was something. Yeah, DRM protected content. That is the reason they went with it over something else, which is neat. That is, it's nice to be able to do that. Now, yeah, okay. So they also went and hid all of the AI stuff, the Brave rewards, all that stuff. So the sponsored backgrounds. I think a lot of people don't realize you can do this. Like, the main complaint isn't even about the CEO when I hear people talk about Brave. It's, I don't like the crypto stuff. I don't like the sponsored stuff. I don't like the AI stuff. I don't think a lot of people realize that you can just hide all of that. Like, there are like config options to just delete everything. I want to say Tech Law had a good video on that. Let me see. Tech Law Brave Minimal. I think it was something like that. Should find it. Yeah, here it is. So it's this one here. Debloat Brave browser now, where you can go and basically turn it into a very... It's still Chromium. It's only going to be a certain level of lightweight, but you can strip things out and just make it not the crypto browser and all that stuff. Now, the reason why we're talking about something that happened a month ago is because of something that happened a day ago. So another project has decided to make Brave their default browser. That being the Nobara project by Glorious Eggroll. Glorious Eggroll, in case you don't know, is also the person who makes Proton GE, Proton Glorious Eggroll. He's gone ahead and done basically the same stuff as well. Disabling Brave Rewards, disabling Brave Wallet. I don't like the way they've done their options. I really don't like the way... So, Brave Rewards disabled. Shouldn't this just be Brave Rewards and then true or false is how you disable it? Brave Wallet disabled. Brave VPN disabled. This one is a 1, not a true for some reason. I don't know. And then Brave AI Chat enabled. Like, what is... Say what you will about Brave, but these are the dumbest variable names I have ever seen. Just, like, if it's going to be a true or a false, disabled does not need to be in the name. Just have the default state. So, Brave Rewards, the default state is true, true being enabled. Why would you do it like this? Why? Also, Tor, I don't know why you would disable the Tor functionality. That seems like an odd choice to me to make. I don't know. They had, like with Zorin, they did go in and try out other things as well. Yeah, it is a clean package, but they have gone and made some basic config changes. If you want to go and undo these, it is just config options. You can go and enable it. These are not features that have been patched out. So if you do want to go and have Brave Rewards, all that stuff, it's just a matter of flipping Brave Rewards disabled from true to false. Yeah, again, I fucking dumbass options here. Anyway. What else? What else is here? Firefox. Yeah, here we go. Apparently, they were having GPU crashes, which is weird. With variable GPU crashes with variable refresh rate enabled. Is this a reported Mesa bug? I've literally never seen this. Let me see. Let's see if we can find. Oh, we have Anubis here as well. I forgot about that. Hardware accelerated video causes VCN timeout. Huh. I have never seen this problem. Like, at all. So if this is something that other people are consistently seeing, I would love to know about it. If you have any experience with it, do let me know about that. And I don't know if I'll make a video on it, but do let me know about it, and I'll talk about it maybe. I don't know. I don't dislike Brave as a browser. The main reason I stopped using Brave is a while back I was having some technical issues with it, which I feel like might also be hard drive related. So, like Firefox, it likes to store a bunch of files on the drive. So I feel like if I move where those files are being stored onto the SSD, it will feel a lot smoother. There was a while back where I moved the cache, which is where Firefox likes to dump a lot of things, onto my SSD, and things were smoother. I think I think Brave puts a lot of files in like the .config directory or something. Like it uses that as like a mass dumping ground. I could be misremembering this with Firefox though. But I know that Brave does use its config directory as like a dumping ground, a cache directory. Everything just goes in that one folder. So probably moving it is going to make things smoother. Yeah. I don't know. It's not a big deal. I am happy on Florp right now, but if I do want to swap to something, honestly, like, if I was going to swap over to something Chromium-based, Brave would be 100% at the top of my list. Like, no questions asked. I know a lot of people like, what is, the Chromium, wait, yeah, what's, the Arc? Is it Arc? I think it's Arc. The browser that Zen is based on. Arc browser, I think is what it was called. Because Zen is the Firefox based one, and then isn't Arc what Chromium what Zen was based on? I think yeah, that sounds right to me. I could be making shit up and I have no idea what I'm talking about, but that sounds right to me. Speaking of things that we're talking about browsers, so I guess we can just talk about this here. Firefox made a move recently as well, and for some reason my network's playing up, so I can't search something. Let's show you. Like it's trying to go to a search and it's just like loading. I don't know why. Australian internet does Australian internet things. But when it decides it wants to load, come on. Oh, wait. Okay, it did something. Okay, there we go. Firefox. So you might know that Mozilla has had a GitHub mirror for a long time. Now, they've done more than just have a mirror now. They have moved over to GitHub as the, like, main primary repo, which is a really, really big change. Not because they were on their own Git thing before and now they're like, here. No, because they have gone from Mercurial over to Git. This is a really big change, and they haven't don't believe they've wrote a blog post about it. I wonder. Like, this was, like, done, like, yesterday. Firefox moves to GitHub. And it's just Firefox. They're still using Bugzilla for stuff and all that. I don't think anyone's written a blog post about. This is a really big, like, this is a really big move. Right, okay. So, I did vaguely remember this happening. So, they were doing, like, this weird dual development thing for a while. So, it's not entirely a full Mercurial move. They were on Mercurial pre-2023, then they started doing this, like, weird dual development thing. Then it took them a long fucking time. Like, apparently it was going to take them 6 months in 2023 to go full Git, and that just didn't happen. So, now, quite a while later, they have fully gone entirely Git. I think they still have... Are they still updating the Mercurial? Because they still have the Mercurial. And this is just Firefox. I don't think... Hold on, let me just see. I don't think anything else has moved over. Thunderbird, GitHub. I think this might still be a mirror. Yeah. Yeah, there's Canine Mail is on GitHub. I think the rest of it might still be Mercurial. Code, explore the Dark Sailor on Matrix. Wait. Okay. Join the repository. Hold up. God damn. Okay. The fact that it's not linking me directly to a GitHub leads me to believe that things like Firefox... Okay, the documentation... I'm so confused. Bugzilla... Thunderbird on GitHub. Hold up. Okay, this is the website. Where's the actual desktop app, though? Why can you not just link me to a fucking GitHub page and link me to the repo? Oh my god. I don't know where Thunderbird is. Somebody will know, and someone's going to be right in the comment section. Bro, how do you not know Thunderbird? It's somewhere. This does make things a lot easier. Like, yes, people at Mozilla know how Mercurial works, and people who've been there for a long time know how Mercurial works. But if you were working on Firefox or anything else at Mozilla, and you're working on literally anything else in the FOSS world, it's not like anyone at Mozilla doesn't know how Git works, right? Like, I find it incredibly hard to believe that there would be a single person at Mozilla who doesn't also know Git if they work on literally anything else. Or, like, I don't know if people personally use Mercurial for their own stuff. It's just there's way less in, like, there's way less in Mercurial hosting, so if you want it to be publicly hosted, doing that's a bit of a pain as well. Git is just so de facto standard that it's kind of hard to even justify thinking about anything else. Is that a good thing or not? Well, it's a thing, and nothing's gonna change. I like Git. Don't get me wrong. I like Git. I like GitHub. Maybe I don't like GitHub as much. I use GitHub because it exists and it's convenient and it's free and Microsoft's gonna get my data anyway, so I might as well just give it to them the easy way. I don't care either way, so it kind of is what it is. We've been talking about Linux stuff for like the first 40 minutes. That's actually kind of rare for a solo episode. Usually I would go down some like random dumb tangent and then talk about gaming and no one cares. And then people just like tune out of the episode. But I do it anyway because it's my podcast. And I don't know, people are here for some reason. And like coming up in a couple of months, we're going to be doing the whole gaming thing again. When I go to AvCon, I will be handing out a bunch of business cards to people and be like, hey, you want to come on a podcast? And because they're indie devs and they are happy to get any sort of news coverage whatsoever, and they're happy to talk to someone who seems passionate about software, a lot of them are like, yeah, let's do that. And then some of them forget that I send them an email, and then we don't do that. But, you know, it is what it is. Fun fact about AvCon. AvCon is my local anime and video game convention, and I don't know if it was the first time, but one of the very early times that Hollow Knight was shown off was at this convention. And this convention was really, really small. This was when nobody knew about Hollow Knight. I don't even know what, like, if it was the complete game or was one of the early demos. But it was definitely shown at AvCon once, which is really cool. Because in case you don't know, Team Cherry, at least originally, was an Adelaide studio. I don't know where Team Cherry... I don't know if they've moved out of the state or if they're still located here. Team Cherry. Let's see. Apparently they are still in Adelaide. Yeah. Somewhere in Adelaide. Actually, wait, I'm kind of curious. Let's go to... I'm on LinkedIn right now. I wonder if there's like any transitive connections. where it's like, someone I know knows someone there. I don't know how I'd check that on LinkedIn, actually. I don't use this fucking website. I have absolutely no idea. But usually there's something fun there. I don't know how we got into the topic of AvCon and LinkedIn. Oh, I was talking about the fact that we hadn't like done a random tangent into gaming yet. So let's do that. Let's do that. So I have been playing. Okay, playing is a strong word. I have been. Okay, maybe not playing is a strong word. Have. Maybe have. Yeah, have been. Have been is a strong phrase. I usually play like a couple hours a week. I've been playing through Expedition 33. This game, if you haven't played it yet, holy fuck. Holy man, this game, like, I'm not streaming it because I just want to enjoy the game and not have to focus on streaming and not have to focus on chat, nothing like that. Just purely enjoy it. And man, like, I am not going to say it's a perfect video game because every game has issues. As an example, the game doesn't have map markers for the map, which is annoying. It also doesn't have any sort of, like, Pokedex system, you know, where you defeat an enemy, you know what its weaknesses are, which, in the context of the game, so in case you don't know, the idea of Expedition 33 is there is this thing called the Paintress, paints a number on the tower. If you're older than that number, you just die. So anyone older than whatever number it is, dead. There's no people over the age, in this case, of 33. At the start of the game, number 34 is on the tower, and Paintress comes along and counts it down. You see big scene of everybody dying who's over that age. So there's only a few more years left where things can legitimately actually happen, because if it gets down to, you know, like, number 10, right? You're gonna send out, like, little babies to go do the expedition. Even younger, like expedition, it goes down to like number 5. It's like, what are you gonna do? They're literally like, they're babies. They can't do shit. You just send them out. Like, it's not even send them out to die. They're too young to even know what they would be doing. Anyway, so this game, it is. I think it is a really good middle ground between real-time and turn-based combat. So I know there's a lot of people out there who don't fully jive with, like, classical turn-based. When I say that, I mean classical Final Fantasy X, where move happens, move happens, move happens, move happens. There's no interaction between the turns. It's just turn, 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 turn. This does allow for very complex, like, status systems and comboing things together. And, like, turn-based is really good. Like, Baldur's Gate 3 is a great example of what you can do with a fully turn-based system. A game like that just would not work real-time. There's a lot of games that have gone full real-time, though. And, like, Final Fantasy's gone down this route. Like, 16's gone down this route. 7, it's like... 7 is like this weird, like, sort of... 7's like very experimental with combat in a lot of cases. But, like, 16 and 15, you can technically do turn-based, and 15, it's just sucks more than the regular combat. But, like, we all know what real-time combat is, right? Like, DMC, Final Fantasy 16, Sekiro, Dark Souls, things like that. The way that Expedition 33 works is it is full turn-based. So your turn happens, enemy turns happen. Your turn happens, enemy turn happens. It does have a speed system, so if your speed is really high, so like 10, there is like a turn order thing on the side. So it's not necessarily you, enemy. It might be a case of 6 times in a row your party goes and then the enemy goes because your speed is so much higher. So it might be like I don't know, like in my case I've got one of the characters, Mael, her speed is really high, and Lune's speed is really high. So in a lot of cases, it's like Mael, Lune, other party member, and then enemy. Assuming I don't stun them in the process, and then they also lose their turn. Now, what makes this different is when the enemy attacks, you can parry. I guess you can technically block. You can technically dodge. I don't know that. I've literally never pressed the dodge button outside of the tutorial. I think it's circle or something on a PlayStation controller. So, like a game such as Sekiro, for example, and Sekiro is a really good example because fucking parry window is tight. Like a game like Sekiro, you can go through the entire game taking 0 damage. I don't know of someone who has done so yet. I am almost certain there is somebody probably streaming it right now trying to do that. Now, there is a difficulty system, so there is like game journalist mode, normal mode, and then gamer mode. I am on gamer mode. I think it's called expert. Also, it's not called game journalist mode. It's like story mode or something like that. I don't fucking know. But in expert, you have to 100% have to parry. You don't have to dodge. Dodging is cringe. Don't press the dodge button. Okay, technically later on you get a jump. Some attacks need to be jumped over. I guess that's technically a dodge. But besides that, dodging is cringe. This makes the system really, really engaging. Because a problem with a lot of turn-based games, like, you know, take the gacha games, for example. A lot of the gacha games literally have an autoplay system because there's so much grinding in them, and there's so much boring fights that no one gives a shit about because you're just pressing attack. Persona gets this way as well. Like, most turn-based games, especially if there's a lot of grinding in them, will really get this way. Here, though, an expert, especially in the way that I'm playing it, which is, I don't know what the health stat is because health is cringe. So is defense. Defense is also cringe. The only reason my defense goes up is because some of the stats you raise also just happen to raise up your defense as well. I don't raise the defense because I don't need defense if I don't get hit. Just put everything in damage. This is how I play a lot of Souls-like games as well, and it always goes for me. Early on, like early Act 1, it's a lot rougher than it is now. Once you start getting the idea of how the system works, it feels fine. It feels really good. Now, early on, the parry window. Holy fuck. One of the most popular mods for this game is actually to make the parry window a little bit more forgiving. I'm not going to say it's unfair. The parry window is incredibly fair, and at least from my experience so far, getting towards the end, of finishing Act 1, going to Act 2, every single attack is fair, makes sense, there's no stupid timing. Mostly, like when you see an enemy with a sword, a problem a lot of these, like, any game with parrying has, is the guy with the sword is gonna go, bonk. It's like, there's no like, build up. It's just like bonk. And it's like you have to like learn only the timing, which is fine in certain contexts if it's very tight, very consistent timing. It's like a bounce attack. It's like bonk. And it's like you have to learn that, like that rhythm. But when there's no build-up, that first couple of times you do it always just feel really weird. And if you don't know the build-up for it, it just doesn't work. Most attacks have some sort of clear build-up. And attacks that don't have a build-up, this is something really neat, which I haven't seen other games like this do. Because a lot of the games that have like parry and dodge systems are real-time. It wouldn't really make sense to do this. Attacks where there isn't a clear build-up. So you have an enemy where it's like charging up energy and the spike shoots out and just like instantly shoots out. In those cases, the game does a very brief but very noticeable slowdown. The game will slow down entirely letting you have that window. It's not like a long one. It'll be like a quarter of a, maybe like a tenth of a second, maybe a 20th of a second. But it's enough to give you that like feedback you need to know that something's about to happen. The attack comes, your eyes register it, press the button. Really good system. Now, there might be enemies later which are weird. I don't know. But at least so far, it's fine. There are enemies that have really weird gimmicks, though. Like, there's this one type of enemy where they will eat your party member, so you have to end up fighting with less characters on the field, and you have more than, like, 6 party members. You can't swap people in. So, the way you get your party member back is you have to stun the enemy, and then they'll, like, spit them out. But then, when you get towards the lower end, they will end up eating 2 of your party members. Now, if you build your party in a way where somebody is your main damager, you're in for a rough time. Now, again, you can do the game level 1. You can take no damage, but it is going to be very annoying to do that. And especially if your characters like combo off of each other, which is what you're probably going to be doing. Now, like, it's real. Like, it's just a really cool system. Like, the combat's really cool. The enemies are really cool. The music is fucking fantastic. There's a few issues that I will, like, I have to be honest. Like, people are talking about this being, like, perfect video game. I can't play anything else besides Expedition 33. There are legitimate problems with it. Firstly, lack of map markers. So there are some optional areas you'll go to, like at the start of Act 1, there's this side area called a Best Cave with an enemy in there that's going to one-shot your entire party, and you can do it. It's just going to take a long time to do, so you probably want to come back later. Act 2 has places like that as well, and there's various other side places which you might want to go and come back to. There's no map markers, so you either have to remember these locations or write it down elsewhere. It's annoying. Map markers make sense. The lack of the Pokedex thing. So the idea of you going on the expedition is you're going out to beat the paintress, to beat the person who writes this number, and make sure no one else dies. Like, that's the setup early on. Is things going to change later on? I don't know. There's already things kind of changed so far with a new character's been introduced, but we'll see. So you're going on this journey, and you're also, like, filling out a journal for those who come after. But it never, like, clicks with the characters. They should be writing down what enemies are weak to, things like that. Like, it logically makes sense in the context of the game to write down where weak spots on enemies are, the nature of the enemies, how they behave, how they attack, what elements they're weak to, what elements they resist. Like, these things, like, logically in the context of the game make sense, and it's not there. I think another problem the game does have is the autosave system is weird and inconsistent. So, when you die to an enemy, it will send you back to your last autosave. Now, autosaves are quite common. Every time you get to a rest point, which there's always going to be a rest point before a required boss, before optional bosses, there'll usually be one somewhere nearby. Those are not the only autosaves, though. So, like a Souls game, you have Estus Flasks to heal your party. Using that item will cause an autosave. So, what you actually want to do with an optional boss is run down your health a little bit and then use the potion near the boss so you don't have to run back from the rest point. It's like a weird way to abuse the game mechanics just to get a save in the position you want. The easier thing would be just to, like, add an autosave, or add, like, a save button there so you can, like, save before a boss. Or better yet, if you go to a boss, set the save location just before the boss. Like, the first encounter is going to set your save location just before the boss. The game also has a number of soft locks. So there's some buggy terrain, like in an early location called Flying Waters. When you get to this area, which is full of red flowers, there's like a hill you can run up. If you run up that hill, you can then jump off, land on top of these trees, which have an invisible hitbox on top of them, and then roll to the right, and now you're behind some, like, vases, or vases, whatever you want to call them, and they're too high to be able to jump over, and you're just soft-locked in there. There is a way to, like, go back to your earlier save, so you can get out of that, but there's a bunch of weird locations like that. There's ways to get stuck in the world map. These are things which are not a big deal, because you can just go back to your last save, but they are kind of annoying. Speaking of world map, this is something super cool. So, you know how in, like, early Final Fantasy games, like, let's say, like, FF7, where the world map, or, like, early Dragon Quest, where the world map, you actually walk around in, like, a mini version of the world map. It's not just, like, points on a map you go to. It's actually, like, the world scaled down. This has it as well, and it's really cool. Like, it's such a nice little touch, and yeah, it's not the quickest way to navigate around, but by the end of Act 1, you unlock a faster travel method anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like, I would say maybe for the first, like, 10 hours of the game, I guess maybe a little bit annoying to run around, but first 10 hours or so of the game, it's pretty straightforward where you're going anyway. Like, there's not really much in the way of optional areas, so you're not really running around the world map a ton. It's just like a nice thing to see. What else is there on this game? What have I not touched on? I've not touched on the story, really. I don't want to say much in the way of story, just because the end of Act 1 is really big and really, really changes where I thought things were going. So, for anyone who just hasn't played it, the game is... This is the other thing. The game is $50. It is $50 on Steam. 50 Australian dollars. 50 US dollars. 70 Australian dollars. For a new video game that is AAA quality. It's not a AAA game. It's made by a small indie developer. $50. This game, I would... If you like JRPGs, you should play this. Like, genuinely, you should play this. The only complaint outside of the ones that I've heard, outside of the ones I listed, there are some accessibility related issues, so if you're in that camp, it's not the most thorough set of accessibility tools, which is annoying, but I also understand. And people complaining they don't like having to block in a turn-based game. So, stupid people. Basically. This game also is pretty well optimized. It's a UE5 game, so you get UE5 problems, but it's a lot better than a lot of other games that I have played. It's made by a small team of people who are ex-Ubisoft developers, and they spent like 6 years working on the game. There's an early trailer that that someone found. So 5 years ago, I think it was like the producer or something posted on Reddit looking for voice actors and had a link to an early version of the game. And the early version of the game is very like steampunky and all that sort of stuff. Now it's a lot more, how would I describe this? High fantasy is not the right, it's like a, is low fantasy the right word? I don't know. I don't really know. I guess low fantasy is probably the best way to describe it. It's not like genres are stupid. But if I was going to describe it, it's low fantasy would be the closest term, with very... I think the best way to describe the backgrounds is every single shot of the game is a screenshot. Like, everywhere you go, everything you look at, every landscape you see, everything is screenshot worthy. This game is fucking gorgeous. Anyway, there was a very early trailer for the game, and there's this really funny TTS voice used in it. Because I guess they didn't have a voice for the main character yet. It's fucking incredible. I would recommend you go check it out. I'm probably gonna do a video on the React channel of it anyway, so if you want to check that out, do go and do that. But the game was in such, like, I think what it does show as well is, like, the process of a game. Because you see the game now, and you're like, wow, this game is incredible. I don't know how a small team made this. But you see the state the game was in 5 years ago, and you're like, this is, like, mid-tier, like, low-tier indie garbage. And you think, oh, that can be, like, you can turn this into something incredible. It's just gonna take a long fucking time to do so. And that's what they did. Like, they made something incredible. I've seen a lot of people saying it's very likely going to be Game of the Year. I don't want to say, like, we're in fucking May, right? Like, there's still a bunch of games that are going to come out this year. I would be very surprised if it wasn't nominated. Will it win? I don't know. It has a very, it's a very high contender. Like, a very, very high contender. If it doesn't win Game of the Year, it's probably going to win something. There's no way that this is not going to take, like, best RPG. Because hold up. FF7 Retrograde. That's the new one? Intergrade. Wait, hold up. I'm confused. No. Okay, hold up. When was the last FF7? Was that last year the last FF7 part came out? I don't remember. Or the prior one. Let me see. Wait, actually, maybe it's longer than I thought it was. It actually might be longer than I thought it was, actually. If it doesn't win Game of the Year, it's definitely gonna probably either win Best RPG or, like, Best Soundtrack. I would be surprised if it's not nominated for all of those three. Also, the voice acting is phenomenal. A lot of people are, like, I'm seeing a lot more people talk about the French voice acting because it is made by a French developer, and it's a very French-inspired world, so it kind of makes sense to, like, play it in French. I'm not, because one of the main characters is voiced by Ben Starr, and I am a big fan of Ben Starr. For anyone who doesn't know, Ben Starr is the voice of Kazan in Kazan the First Berserker, is the voice of Bird Guy in Hades 2, forgetting his name right now, and is the voice of Clive in Final Fantasy 16. And for all the problems that 16 has, I do think Clive is not one of those problems. I think Clive is fucking phenomenal. Also, hold up. Mael V Expedition 33 VA. Yeah, also Mael is voiced by Shadowheart's voice actor. So if you like Shadowheart, there's also that as well, which is cool. Who does Lune's voice? Actually don't know. Lune. And where is Kirsty Ryder? What else have you done? Anything super notable? Not anywhere near as notable as Mael, as Shadowheart. Someone pointed that out to me the other day. I was like, oh yeah. Probably should have noticed that one before. Oh, since we're on the topic of video games anyway, I think I've gushed about Expedition 33 enough. Go play it. It's very good. Yeah, do that. Phenomenal game. Ben Star Goat. You won't see his character until Act 2, though. Late Act 1, I guess. Anyway, Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade is coming to PC. Stellar Blade, I just wrote Stellar Bold. This has been known for a while. It'll be June 2025. But there was a trailer that came out. And, man, Shift Up is going hard with the PC release. Like, they've seen so many other games that go from a PS5 exclusive to having a PC release where they kind of do, like, middling numbers. Like, FF16, I don't think it sold that well on Steam. Just because it was so long, and I don't think it was, like, complete edition either. I don't think they released it with... Hold up. Let me just double check. I don't think they released it with all the DLC included. No, so they released it, like, a year late? Yeah, and then released the DLC as separate. Which is cringe and... Like, come on, if the game's gonna be this late, just like, give people the DLC with the PC release. And that would drive sales a lot more. So, this game maxed out... Okay, it still sold... Like, it did relatively well. 27k. Like, 27k peak. So, probably, I would guess probably sold, like, at least 100k units. Maybe 200k units on Steam. Most of the sales, obviously, had already happened on console. But with Stellar Blade's release, they're going fucking hard with it. So, Stellar Blade, when it comes to Steam, let me see if I can find what was actually being included. So, let me see. Okay, so they're not including the DLC. They are having a separate complete edition. But this complete edition... The DLC for Stellar Blade doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, the DLC for Stellar Blade, like, literally doesn't matter at all. It's like some Nier costumes and some Nikke costumes. But the part that actually does matter, the part that is gonna get people to actually buy it, if they don't have a PS5, is it's going to ship with 25 new costumes. This is the base version. 25 new costumes. Some of those costumes were costumes which were censored on the PS5 release. It's going to ship with, for some reason, the missing Japanese and Chinese voiceover, which were only included in the Japanese and Chinese releases of the game on PS5. No idea why. I played the game in Korean. But, like, I don't know why the PS5 release didn't have the voices. Like, nowadays it's totally normal to include, like, every voice pack because the voice pack isn't going to be that much data. There's going to be a new boss fight against Man, which I think is going to be really cool, and it's probably going to be treated, I hope, as a secret boss, like a really hard boss. Like, we know the fight's happening, but I hope it's... Look, as much as I hope it is, I also don't hope it is as hard as the Raven fight, which is a fucking story fight, which was the weird difficulty spike the game had. I feel like there's something else. Apparently, there's also some, like, weird additional cutscene that happened. So, if they set up for a new ending or a new DLC, I hope this stuff comes to the PS5 version. That would be very nice. It would actually get me to go and do New Game Plus of the PS5 version. But we'll see what happens. Stellar Blade, for anyone who hasn't played it, is also a phenomenal video game, which a lot of people got, like... a lot of people skipped over because of stupid fucking internet discourse. Like, oh my, is Eve's body realistic? Is Eve too hot? It's just like, you look at the actor that plays Eve, and she looks exactly like Eve does because she's a Chinese model. Sorry, a Korean model. But like the game was like completely, all the focus was on that bullshit, but the fucking combat's amazing, the music's amazing. If you've not heard it, go listen to Stellar Blade Belial. That's a great example of one of the boss songs. And go listen to like pretty much any other song in the game. If you want a real fun one that just feels completely out of place unless you know the context of the fight, go listen to Stellar Blade Raven. The Raven, the fucking Raven music, man, is crazy. Look, will I buy the game again? It earned a 7 out of 10 from IGN. Yeah, no one gives a shit at IGN. Dull characters, lackluster story. You are stupid. I hope Stellar Blade gets a fucking sequel. I really do. Shift Up did such a good job. For anyone who doesn't know, Shift Up are also the developers of Nikke, the game with the jiggling butts. So if you don't understand why Stellar Blade is the way Stellar Blade is, this is the way why Stellar Blade is. Will I buy the game again on PC? We'll see. We will see. Especially if the extra stuff isn't coming to console, and if there is some like new ending or maybe setting up for a sequel or something like that, I will be tempted. The ass will tempt me. The cake will... I saw this... I was posting about it on Twitter the other day. And, what was the stupid comment they left? Something about cake. Yeah, here it is. So I posted about Stellar Blade's PC release. Was there something else I missed? Oh, it also has ultra-wide support if you care about ultra-wide. Yeah. Also high resolution textures, as it should on PC. Anyway, someone said, I don't know, man, all I see is cake. Like, the cake gets old, the music on the other hand, you had me at cake, obviously wishlisted, very excited. Absolutely. The thing about Stellar Blade, though, even though there are all of these, like, Gooner outfits, I think by the midpoint, let me see if I can find the outfit I was using. Like, yeah, I know some people like the Gooner outfits, and we all know, look, we all know what's gonna happen with the PC release. Let's not pretend we don't know what's gonna happen with the PC release. Things are gonna be even more Goonery. I think, yeah, by midpoint, I reckon I was using the Wasteland Adventurer. Just like crop top and jeans. Like, totally, like, normal chill outfit. There is a better version in New Game Plus, which I hadn't done yet, so there is that. But, like, if you look at the outfits, right, like, there's all of these skin-tight outfits and all this. Red Passion's also a good one. Or, like, there's the bunny suit. There's, like, a bunch of other ones. I'm just like, let's use one of the most, like... Let's just use one of, like, the most, like, normal outfits in the game and just not even worry about it. This is the nice thing. There are so many choices in the game that you don't have to run the Gooner outfits if you don't want to. You can even be a giant teddy bear if you want to. That is an option. That is an option. The complete anti-Gooner outfit. But yeah, if you've not played it, hopefully it releases at a sensible price on PC and isn't 70 US dollars. The original release wasn't. My hope is they do a discount. My hope is they pull an Expedition 33 and they release it at $50. That would be such a great marketing opportunity for people who have not played the game yet, or wanted to also get the PC version. And it's just like, hey, look, guys, here's a $50 game. There you go. You don't have to sell games at $80. Yeah. Speaking of sales, though, one thing I'm genuinely surprised about is the Steam Deck. Not like the original sales, but the fact the Steam Deck is still selling, like, after all of these years. Like, it's still selling, like, quite consistently. Like, weirdly consistently. I don't know how. I don't know why. Like, it's just, like, it's been sitting near the top of the charts on the global sellers. It's, like, dipped down a bit as certain things happen, but, like, for the most part, it's just been chilling there. People have just been buying the Steam Deck. And this is even though the fact that, at this point, a lot of games are... Like, I think Doom Dark Ages. I think Doom Dark Ages is having a lot of issues on the Steam Deck. Doom Dark Ages, Steam Deck. Yeah. So, this is a great title. Doom the Dark Ages on Steam Deck is a nightmare even at low quality and in linear levels. I've seen some people saying it's not that bad. Like, Ars Technica here is saying surprisingly playable. Low settings, 800p. Maybe there was an update to Proton that made it perform a little bit better. Because that's not how other people were describing it. And it makes sense, right? Like, the Steam Deck wasn't a super high-powered device when it came out. Now it's 3 years on, and games are getting more expensive to run, more taxing to run, and the Steam Deck is the same hardware it was at that point. I do think a Steam Deck refresh is... It is not necessary, but it's definitely something which I hope Valve is considering. Because the Steam Deck did such a phenomenal job at promoting Linux gaming and showing that it was possible. And I know they want to wait for, like, some big jump to happen to really do it. I would be very surprised if there were not some sort of internal engineering, at least prototypes, of a Steam Deck 2. And if there's not, I don't know what their engineering team is doing. Like, the bare minimum, there's at least been meetings discussing, do we want to do so? Is this a good idea? Should we pull this original Steam Deck and do something? Like, I will be surprised if we don't see a Steam Deck refresh, right? Because it's done so well. It just doesn't make any sense to not do so. I know there are a lot of these other handhelds on the market as well, and maybe they wanted to shift things over there and focus more on the software side. I guess I could see that as well, but it would feel like a giant letdown if we don't actually see a Steam Deck 2. It feels like... It feels like it would be like a wasted opportunity. They built so much goodwill doing this. If they just kind of neglected it, I don't know. Like, Proton's not going anywhere, right? Like, Proton's still going to do its thing. Proton's still getting better and better and better. But the Steam Deck itself is... Yeah. I don't use my Steam Deck anywhere near as much as I should. But when I do use it, it's basically used as, like, an indie machine and, like, light game machine. I don't try to play, like, AAA games on it. Apparently, like, Oblivion is playable. Not great, but, like, surprisingly playable on low settings. Let's see what this person says. Seeing some people say, like, 20s, 30s, which is better than I would have expected. Obviously, you can go back and play the original Oblivion with mods, and it's going to perform so much better. But, like, you know. It's a very, very different situation then. I still have hopes for a new Steam Deck. Especially when we see things like this coming out. Like, even if the Steam Deck doesn't get a refresh, SteamOS itself, I think they're going to put more effort into. So they recently announced this thing called SteamOS compatibility. This is like the Steam Deck compatibility, but is a more general thing. So they now have two separate categories regarding compatibility. They have the Steam Deck category and the SteamOS category. So if you're running SteamOS on like Lenovo Legion Go S or any other devices that may support it in the future, this is about more general support and not like specifically. So the Steam Deck category also takes into consideration like performance and things like that. This is more about like, does it generally work on SteamOS? Now, I've said before, I have my issues with Valve's verification system. And I do think that it needs a complete rework because there's a lot of games which are marked as playable, which are not. There are games which are marked as verified, which are not. There are games that are marked as not playable, which are very playable. I do think it would make more sense to adopt a more ProtonDB-like system. ProtonDB has done a phenomenal fucking job at letting people know whether games do or don't work. I think Steam's system is very flawed, and there's no reason why they couldn't do something in cooperation with ProtonDB that would be millions of times better. I've said this before. I think they could have a direct integration with ProtonDB. Maybe like integrate it into the review system, something like that. So people know directly in the Steam client what they can do to fix a game, how a game works, all this sort of stuff. And it would be better for everyone. Like they could like roll their own system, but I think integrating ProtonDB and like supporting them directly would be a better way to do it. Like, Valve has already shown before they are very willing to not step over the FOSS projects, but actually integrate them into what they're doing. Like, this is what was done with... Like, this is why Proton exists. Proton is made as a combination of DXVK and VKD3D. Yeah, VKD3D. Like, bringing those projects in to a combination of Wine, which things also get upstreamed into. Like, Valve seems to want to be a good member of the FOSS ecosystem here. And then everything they're doing is also open source as well, even though in some cases, they absolutely could make it proprietary. So it just seems weird to me that you wouldn't also just, like, address that system. Maybe they think, like, the system works well, even with all the criticism, like, that's been done. I do think having... Do they have an anti-cheat listing? Well, I guess that's... Okay, no, that is part of the Steam Deck compatibility. That's a bit different. I do think having this bit more granular as well, though, would also be a good idea. So a game might have... A game like GTA 5. A game like GTA 5, for example, you can play through the single player perfectly fine, but the multiplayer is... You can't play it because of anti-cheat. I do think making that distinction clear would be good, because there's a lot of people that would want to play through GTA 5, but don't care about multiplayer. I'm one of those people. But it can give them a misunderstanding of the actual state of things if they look at it and it says that it's not actually compatible. There's a lot of, like, little changes that, like... Look, if anybody from Valve wants some ideas on how they could massively improve the system... My email's there. Reach out to me. I would absolutely love to chat. I have some ideas about how the system could be a million times better. I don't think anyone's going to reach out. But if anybody does want to do so, yeah. You know where to find me. Oh, God. Since we're on the topic of game development, game supporting, let's talk a bit about game development. So... I've been going on a bit of a side quest recently, learning the Godot game engine, starting to do some programming again. I've done some game development in the past, and first time working with Godot. I really like Godot. My primary experience with game development was with Unity. Unity, I don't hate Unity, but I don't have enough experience with Unity to hate Unity. But Godot really clicks with me. And I think it's the fact that my like primary programming experience was OO, and the entire structure of Godot is like built around OO concepts, and it just immediately clicks with me. I've been going through Brackeys has a video on, like, I've been doing it for like a little bit now. But Brackeys has a video on, or a couple of videos on Godot actually. I'm gonna slowly make my way through this one as I mess around with some random other stuff as well. Really good starting point. I also went through there's like a tutorial in the Godot docs about GDScript, which is their scripting language. The language is basically Python. If you know Python, you'll pick up GDScript in like very little time, or JavaScript. All very similar sort of structure. It's a very lightweight language, very syntax averse, we will say. It's pretty easy to pick up. So you like, if you've not done it, you'll work it out pretty quickly. I've got some ideas for things I want to do. I kind of want to be one of the people who have made a Tux video game, and I've got an idea for one that I want to mess around with. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't know if I'm going to give up, but it is fun to be programming again. Like, there was such a long time where I just wasn't, and like, I really enjoy programming. And it's not like just a career thing, right? Like, I just legitimately enjoy doing programming, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't do so for so long. So it's nice to get back to it. It's nice to just it's nice to be doing something different again, right? It's same but different, right? Like, yes, programming is not a new thing to me, but it is a change of pace from the way I've been doing things for all this time. It's a nice new hobby to pick up, or new old hobby, and break up the monotony of what I'm doing day to day, I guess. That's sort of where I'm at with it. And if you want to like try it out as well, I would recommend picking up that video. He links checking out the video. He links over to a course as well that goes into like shader development and things like that. I'll probably work through that as well, as I've got some other ideas I want to do. Will I release a game on Steam at some point? I don't know. Again, my first thing that I want to do is I've got an idea for a Tux game. So this is going to be me doing everything myself. I want to learn like pixel art. I want to learn how to do music. Is it going to suck? Probably. Do I want to do a chiptune version of the Free Software song? Yes, because it would be funny. Again, these are all things I've done little bits of in the past, but I've never sort of really been committed to actually like learn the process. It's like, oh, when I was on Mac, I would open up GarageBand and fuck around a bit, or oh, I'm gonna make some pixel art for like a project for university, but I've never really sat down and like learned the process. Like, what do you actually want to take in consideration when you're doing pixel art? How do you want to size things? How do you want to handle your color palettes? Things like that. And hey, I don't know, maybe I turn game development into like a more long-term thing. I don't know. Right now, like, I think a lot of people, they value their time too much. Maybe that's not a good way to put it, but they don't want to be doing anything that isn't monetarily viable. You know, you see these people where it's like, every second of the day, I have to be doing something that I could be making money from. And I get it, right? But at the same time, like, I think it's nice to just do something that doesn't really matter. And you see this a lot in... I saw this post on Reddit the other day, actually. This person... I wonder if I can find it. This person was complaining that, like, they don't know why there's any reason... Yeah. This one here... What is even the point of programming? So this is someone talking about, hey, they're learning to code, but they see this, like they've been doing some Lua, HTML5, CSS3, a lot of Rust. They're learning ARM assembly, and they just want to, like, quit coding altogether because you're seeing how much, like, how good AI is getting, how a lot of companies, even if it's not perfect, are willing to just adopt AI. You're seeing Meta talk about it. You're seeing all these companies talk about it. And they're like, well, if I can't do it as a career, is there even any point to learn how to code? And I don't think the FOSS world is going to go through this issue, because the FOSS world is fundamentally volunteers doing volunteer things, programmers wanting to fix their own problems, and people who just enjoy programming for the sake of programming. I do think, like, big projects are going to have to sort of answer the question of whether they do or don't want AI code. But I always think there will be people that want to just have fun programming. But the field of programming, this is a problem that art is going to run into as well. The field of art, especially when we talk about, like, corporate art. What is it? Is it called Corporate Memphis? Yeah. This fucking art style. Corporate Memphis art style. Like, generic corporate art style. Anybody who does this style of art, they've probably already been fired. And they were probably fired, like, 2 years ago. Because AI's been able to generate this for so long, and it wasn't... It's not really a creative endeavor. It's like, you're paid to make just absolute slop. The kinds of, like, corporate art jobs like this are basically fucking cooked. And I feel like the same is going to happen with a lot of the code monkey jobs, where your entire purpose is build some very simple API or maintain this thing. Like, a lot of those jobs which consist of a lot of boilerplatey things, I think in the very near future, you're going to be seeing a lot of those jobs disappear. And I don't know how that's really going to work out, where you sort of eliminate the junior position, and then you have to, like, somehow immediately go from grad to senior. Like, how do you make that jump? And people who are talented programmers are going to survive in this world, but getting into the field is going to become a lot harder. And the same thing with, like, the same thing's going to happen with art. Getting into the field is going to be very difficult, but if you're established and you have, like, a style and people want you for that style, you're still going to have a position. It's just, how do you become established when the entry point is gone? What's that going to mean long-term for the industry? We'll see. We will certainly see. But I don't think, like the idea of the cabinet maker, right? Like, the cabinet maker as a job is a very niche job now, because most people that want a cabinet, they will go to IKEA or some local furniture store, buy a cabinet. But there was a time where that wasn't a thing. You want a cabinet, you go to the cabinet maker. Or maybe an even better example, someone who fits horseshoes, right? When everybody, actually not everybody, when everybody that can afford transport is using horses, those who are making horseshoes and those who are fitting horseshoes, that's a consistent business. Nowadays, though, horses are a very niche, very, like, specific kind of thing to have. And I do feel like the same thing's going to happen in the art industry, where a lot of it is going to stop being an industry. And people who want art made is going to become a lot nicher of a thing. And the the baseline to become someone who people actually want art from is going to go up, as for the generic kind of art, like, you know, you want some fucking furry porn. Most furry porn artists are not great at doing so, and AI is going to replace them very quickly, right? Or like a lot of those like very low-end commissions, a lot of that is going to vanish. I don't think this is a good thing. I think this is a reality of what is going to happen. I think that it's going to become a lot harder to establish yourself, and people who actually do want to do this are going to have to accept the fact that there's not going to be anywhere near as much work, that they are going to have to do this as a hobby, and the people who are going to stick around in it are going to be those who are really dedicated to actually doing this. Like, really dedicated to, I want to be an artist. The idea of the starving artist, you're going to start seeing the starving programmer. Again, I want to be clear. I don't think this is a good thing. I think if you think it's not going to happen, you are delusional. I know a lot of people want to say AI is never going to be good enough to do this, or AI is never going to be good enough to do that. Just remember where we were 2 years ago. Just remember the first time we saw Midjourney and how bad the images were. And look where we are now. And just remember how bad the early code was, and look where we are now. I am not a... Like, my position on AI is... I think any position you have has to be grounded in the actual reality of things. And I don't think coping that things are never going to be good enough is a good way to handle things. I do think there is definitely IP issues that exist. Absolutely. There are moral and ethical issues that exist. But let's not pretend like moral issues have ever stopped companies doing something. Let's talk Nestle. Right? Like, or let's talk Apple and the nets around buildings. Let's not pretend, or let's talk cobalt miners in the Congo. Let's not pretend that companies have morals. This is not even an argument worth having about whether you're going to see the adoption of AI. It is a pure matter of quality divided by cost. And when you see a ratio that is high enough, you're going to see a full switch over to AI. Maybe not full switch, but enough where you're going to see a lot of the industry jobs effectively vanish, and people who want to do this are going to have to find some either new route to do so, doing a lot of open source work and building up some sort of contract there, or some sort of resume there, already be established, which you can't really do that. Like, how do you become established when you're not established? Or work on something that there is very little data on, right? Like, I'm sure the COBOL programmers aren't too worried about AI, or the Fortran programmers, but if you're some, like, JavaScript code monkey, you are very cooked. Like, incredibly cooked. Like, look... learn to mine. Learn to dig a hole, because you're gonna be in a fucking new industry very soon. Anyway, I'm sure I've annoyed someone with what I've said here. Since we've annoyed people, let's keep doing so. Let's talk about the new GNOME executive director, Stephen Diebold. So, I was quite critical of the GNOME good bit of a hiccup. GNOME Foundation over the past couple of years. I didn't care about, oh, Holly Million, she's a shaman. That's weird. She's a scammer. I don't fucking care. If you want to be a shaman, it's your life. Like, whatever. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend. It was really funny when a lot of the people arguing about her being a shaman also happen to be religious as well. It's like, I'm not gonna argue which scammer is worse than the other scammer, right? Like, let's just put that on. I don't care if if she likes crystals, that's fine. So do a lot of women. So she stepped down because a lot of people were arguing about this. I think that the legitimate problem that Holly did have is I didn't understand why she was in the position. Because the Foundation did a phenomenal job at making people hate her. The Foundation never talked about the work that Holly was doing. Like, once there was like a post about her like getting involved in one thing, but there weren't reports on what Holly was doing. She wasn't going and doing like podcasts. There weren't blog posts being written about Holly's work. It seemed like they were doing everything in their power to make people hate Holly. I don't think that's what happened. I think it was just such bad mismanagement of the Foundation that they didn't even understand what they should have been doing to make people like the Foundation. So when she stepped down after frankly being bullied by a lot of people, which I don't think she should have done, I think they just did a bad job at like explaining her position. If you don't like someone, you're probably not even a GNOME user. Just ignore it. It doesn't fucking matter. She was replaced temporarily by Richard Litterer, who was supposed to be very temporary, like a month or two, stuck around for 10 months because they didn't actually find someone to fill the position. Now, he's been replaced by Stephen Diebold. Stephen Diebold is a GNOME user, has been a GNOME user for 20 plus years, which I saw someone confused why I care if the person running the Foundation uses GNOME or not. The reason why I care is I don't trust that the person who is at the helm of a Foundation knows what is in the best interest of the Foundation if they don't use the thing the Foundation supports. This is what I like about the KDE EV. Everyone in the KDE EV is a KDE member. They're a KDE developer. Even like every board member, KDE person. Everybody, like unless you're like handling like finances, you're involved in the project. But GNOME has this executive director position where there's someone from outside the project, and it's just like, what do you have to do with the project? Stephen is a user, which is a really good start. He's also a tech person, which is also a really good start. He is someone who is involved in open source projects, been involved in open source projects for a long time, worked at companies, seems to have like a finger on the pulse of like why people actually like GNOME. And I think this is a really good direction. And the fact that in his first announcement of taking on the position, he talked about the lack of transparency at the Foundation, the absolute abysmal financial state of the Foundation, that these are things that need to be addressed and need to be addressed quickly and properly. I actually have hopes for Stephen in the Foundation because it feels like they actually have someone who is a leader who knows where they are, right? Like that's the main issue I had with Holly. It didn't make any sense why Holly was there. It seemed like she had nothing to do with GNOME, because she didn't. Had nothing to do with Linux, because she didn't. She was there entirely to resolve finances, and to the best of my knowledge, things actually got worse. Which is not great. And this last report, they've had to do some like big cuts. I believe the last report was technically under Richard, but Richard also wasn't really a executive director anyway, because he was working part-time doing minimal stuff for the Foundation. So I'm not going to blame. Look, I'm not going to blame Richard Litterer for anything that happened at the Foundation, because effectively he was only in the position like as a face, right? Like he did some work, but he explicitly said minimal hours, part-time. Mostly for like the past year, the board's been run by, or the Foundation's been run by the board, which, well, you know. So right now, I have hopes for the Gnome Foundation because it seems like Steven actually cares. And one crazy thing, I didn't mention this in the video, but it is also kind of important. Before I reached out to Steven, he was already following me on Mastodon. And there are very few people in the world of Gnome, especially those who are in the Foundation, who actually like me. I know for a fact there are multiple people on the board who definitely don't like me. And there are former board members who definitely don't like me. Why don't they like me? Well, talking about financial issues, things like that. There are people, don't get me wrong, people on the board who do like me, and at least don't hate me. Don't hate me enough to to try to talk shit on social media. Also, I got an email from someone on the board when Steven took up the position. What? What? This is something I praise System 76 for. When there is some new thing they want to announce, they send an email out to me and out to everybody else who cares about it, and people talk about it. This is something I've said for a long time that GNOME needs to do. When you have some new release, reach out to YouTubers, reach out to journalists, reach out to people talking about things that you want to highlight. Is there some really cool feature that you think people should know about? Tell them about it. Is something happening at the Foundation you want people to know about? Tell them about it. Are you running a funding drive? Tell them about it. Because what's been happening is there have been these things happening, and we'll hear about it because Phoronix finds it, it's on Reddit, things like that. But, you can inform the people who have the audiences before things happen, so, people can, people can signal boost it, and everyone knows it's happening. And it's just, these things which, it seems like, under Steven, are at least more likely to happen. And I'm going to talk to Steven about stuff like this when I have him on the podcast. I've reached out to him already. He wants to do stuff with the Foundation first, which is fair. I get not wanting to do it the day you've come on. You want to actually achieve something. Understandable. I do think he'll be receptive to the idea of actually reaching out to people, and because he's already doing these transparency reports, right? He's already being hey, here's what I did the past week. It would be so easy to then also set up a mailing list and just signal boost that out to everyone if there's some big thing happening. That would be such an easy thing to set up. So I have hopes. Will they turn the financial stuff around? I think the financial stuff it's going to be extra hard to turn that around after the just terrible handling of the bans that happened last year. And the fact that there are people who are on the board still who are fully at fault for what happened, who people involved have tried to see removed and don't want to see removed. I do think their board, there are people on that board who should not be on the board, especially should not be on the board and the COC committee at the same time, because that's a very dangerous thing to have happen, especially because the COC board COC committee has power over the board, so being in both positions is a giant conflict of interest. But yeah, I think they really, the first thing to deal with the financial issues are fixing the trust issues. Because if you don't have trust, people aren't going to want to give you money. That, as simple as that. And they burnt a lot of goodwill over the past couple of years. First with Holly, then with the bans, then with the being very quiet about the bans, then with the report, or the blog post that came out about why the bans happened from someone who knows about the bans, who then got responses, which were not great from people involved in the bans. Dealing with that problem first. But transparency, it's a step at a time, right? One step at a time, and hopefully Steven doesn't step on too many toes too quickly and he actually remains in the position. Because if you wanted to really do a reinvigoration of the board, and you wanted to really fix things, there is some big upsets you would need to do. People would need to be removed. You would need to hold new elections, new real elections. You would need to unban people and let them actually run in the position and fix the issue of being able to be on the COC committee and the board at the same time. But I don't think, at least in the first month, he's going to step on that many toes. I think just saying what the board is doing, at least is something that's not going to get him to lose the job too quickly. Anyway, I had some various other things in here that I kind of wanted to talk about, but weren't really that important. Probably do videos on them anyway. Like, Linus Torvalds is back on using mechanical keyboards. This is like a big story from the Register, because he was using like low profile keys and he didn't like them, but now he doesn't use those. I like that anything that Linus Torvalds says is newsworthy. Like, literally anything. Anything he does, anything he says is newsworthy. This is what happens in the world of Linux. So, anyway, I think we'll just sign it off there. We've gone for about 2 hours now. Don't know how that happened. I feel like I've gotten better at the solo episodes just because of the extra yapping I've been doing on my streams. Just because I've been doing these like React segments, so it's just like yap, just saying bullshit. I don't know. People like the solo ones. I definitely should do more of them. They are fun, they are chill, but also guests are fun as well, and I should bring more of them on. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. So, over on the gaming channel, I am playing through Kazan the First Berserker, which, again, Ben's star game. I'm also playing through Ori and the Blind Forest, which is fun. The studio for that, Moon Studios, might be... The guy in charge has been, like, threatening to shut down the studio because... the new game they've made, No Rest for the Wicked, is apparently garbage. Or, like, it was good, and they released a bad patch, and then people, like, reviewed it negatively, and it was like, oh my god, you need to give me positive reviews, or the company's gonna go bankrupt. Like, fix the patch. Fix the patch. PoE 2's not complaining about this. PoE 2's in a fucking horrible state. Or GGG's not complaining about this. PoE 2's in a horrible state. So, besides those, I've got the React channel, Brody Robertson Reacts, where I upload clips from the stream. Usually, if I'm doing a React segment, it'll be at the end of the stream. So if you like seeing those, you like to see me say bullshit, check those out. Usually it's just like gaming stuff. Sometimes it's Linux stuff. It's like random other stuff. Like I don't. It's just like an outlet for me to just yap about things that are not the main channel sort of topic. I like to keep the main channel like tech and Linux, and then save the bullshit for other places. I've got the, if you're watching the video version of this, you can find the audio version on every podcast platform. It's on Spotify. There is video on Spotify as well. There is an RSS feed, which is cool. If you want to see the video of this, it is on YouTube at Tech Over Tea. Also, with the gaming stuff, I stream it on YouTube and Twitch. Don't care which platform you watch on. Yeah, whichever one you like to. Also, sometimes stream on the main channel. I don't know what I'll stream next time, but we'll stream something. Anyway, if you like this, go like it. I'm doing the main channel outro. I don't know what I'm doing. My nose has been itchy for the past few hours. You know, I've been scratching it. Doing too much coke. Anyway, I guess that's gonna be it for me. Go check out main channel stuff. Brody Robertson. Do Linux videos there 6 days a week. Till next time, I'm gonna go edit some videos, make some dinner. And, yeah, there'll be a guest next time. Probably. Unless I do another solo one. I don't know. Anyway. I don't know what this was. See you guys later.